All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book of the Bible. All right. So let's get into some quick news real quick. All right. To let you know what's happening, to let you know what's going on. All right. So you're not living under a rock and you know what times we're living in, man. All right. So let's get it. This is from the People's Voice. All right. And the title of this article reads, France and Poland to rehearse nuclear strikes on Russia in high stakes NATO drills. All right. Major provocation. All right. Now, there's a reason why all these nations in the world are gearing up. All right. Doing, military exercises, military drills, nuclear drills. Right, because of this third world war that's getting ready to pop off. All right. The true prophets and the true servants of the Lord, starting with the Israelites of Great Millstone and the ones that teach in like manner, all right, have been prophesying of this third world war. And now you see all these nations gearing up, coming together. All right. Every day you hear about rumors of World War III. You hear about World War III talks every single day. All right. Because what the true prophets and the true servants of the Lord have been prophesying, this third world war, all right, is now finally here. It's here, man. All right. And it's getting ready to take place very, very soon. We're already in World War III. It just hasn't been officially declared yet as World War III, in your mainstream media. You don't hear it. You don't hear it on the radio yet. World War III, but we're in World War III. Every nation on this earth is at war, just about, man. There's tensions all over this earth between nations. And that's the Lord that's doing it. All right? Because it's his word, it's his will to bring these nations together for this third world war. All right? World War III is prophesied all throughout the scriptures. The Lord is the one that's doing this, man. All right? Matter of fact, let's get Joel, Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right. When the Lord said, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. All right. That's these nations. All right. Coming together for this third world war. All right. So let's get it. Right here. This is Joel 3:9. All right. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Yeah. All right. That's a World War III scripture. All right. Let's keep reading. It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Yeah, those are farming tools. All right. Plowshares. All right. And pruning hooks. And the Lord said, beat them into swords. All right. And into spears. Weapons of war. All right. Because war is getting ready to pop off. That's why these nations are preparing for war. That's exactly what they're doing. They're beating their plowshares into swords and they're pruning hooks into spears. These nations are preparing for war. All right. It says, let the weak say I am strong. All right. All these nations that were once weak, all right, now have great military power, nuclear power, man. Right. It says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. Yeah, so the Lord is gathering all these heathen nations together. All right. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. right? So the Lord is gathering all these nations together, man. All right, let the heathen be wakened, right? And come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, all right? The valley of Jehoshaphat, meaning the valley of Yahweh's judgment, all right? The valley of Jehoshaphat is not a real place, all right? You know, Jehoshaphat in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shaphat, meaning Yahweh's judgment, all right? Because the Lord is getting ready to judge these nations. He's bringing them down into the valley of his judgment, man. Yahweh Shaphat. You know? Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, so these nations are getting ready to be judged by Yahweh, man. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, right? For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. You see? All right, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. That's why the Lord is getting ready to destroy these. He's bringing all these nations together just so they could destroy themselves, right? Because their wickedness is great. And he's doing that for us. When I say us, I'm talking about the Israelites, the Negro, Latino, Native American men. All right, everything that these nations have done to us all throughout the course of history, you know, the enslavement, the oppression. That's why the Lord is bringing all these nations together so they could destroy themselves with nuclear fire. All right, at the beginning of this chapter, the Lord said this. I'll start at verse 2. I will gather all nations. You see? The Lord said he's going to gather all nations. He's gathering all these nations. He's assembling the kingdoms for this third world war so they could destroy themselves. All right. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. Again, Jehoshaphat in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shaphat. All right. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father. Shaphat is judgment. Yahweh's judgment. The Lord is bringing all these nations together so he could judge them with nuclear fire. Right. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. So that's why the Lord is bringing all these nations together to destroy them. All right, for everything they had did to the nation of Israel, the nation of Israel being the Negro, Latino, Native American men, women and child. All right. Because that's who the true Israelites are, the Negro, Latino, Native American man. All right. It says, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Yeah, because we were scattered through slavery. All right. And the land is parted. All right. You got the Amalekites over there. All right. And the Ishmaelites over there, the Arabs over there fighting for a land that doesn't even belong to them. Right? It belongs to neither of them. It belongs to the Israelites. All right? The Negro, Latino, Native American man. You know? All right? So that was the point. Let's go back down. All right? Verse 9. All right? Where I left off at verse 13. It says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. All right? Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision. Yeah, talking about these nations. All right. For the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decisions. Yeah, when these nuclear missiles fall upon this earth, upon these nations. Right. It says the sun and the moon shall be darkened. Yeah, because the thick smoke that these nuclear warheads are going to create when they hit this earth. You know, that thick, dark mushroom cloud. All right. You know, and hundreds, thousands. All right. Apostle John in the book of Revelation, the 9th chapter. All right. He's seen 200 million missiles being shot off. All right. And those are nuclear missiles. All right. ICBM missiles that carry multiple nuclear warheads. All right, this is not going to be a regular war, right? This is going to be a war of burning and fuel of fire. All right, like Isaiah 9:5 says, right? It's going to be a war of burning and fuel of fire, this third world war. That's the type of war it's going to be, a war of burning and fuel of fire, right? It says the sun and the moon shall be darkened. Yeah, because the light from the sun and the moon is not going to be able to pierce that thick, dark smoke coming from the nuclear destruction, right? That's getting ready to hit this earth, right? And Yahweh also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. Yeah, all right. Like it tells you in Isaiah 13 and Isaiah 24, you know, that the earth shall rock to and fro like a drunkard. All right, the earth is going to shake. That's how heavy and great and powerful, all right, these nuclear missiles are when they hit this earth. That is going to make the entire earth shake. All right, the scriptures say the earth shall be removed out of her place. The earth shall rock to and fro like a drunkard, right? But Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. All right, so shall ye know that I am Yahweh your power, dwelling in Zion. That's where the Lord dwells, in Zion, the nation of Israel. All right, who is the Negro, Latino, Native American man. And you also have the other Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth under the other nations, looking like the other nations, right? My holy mountain, right? Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no stranger pass through her anymore. Yeah. All right. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountain shall drop. All right. That's going into, that's going into something else, right? All right. But, what I was reading was these World War III scriptures. All right. There's a reason why, because, I got this article here, man. All right. France and Poland to rehearse nuclear strikes on Russia in high-stakes NATO drills, major provocation. There's a reason why these nations are gearing up, doing nuclear drills, military exercises, all right? Because World War III is about to pop off, all right? Very great war on a very high, great, and grand scale is about to pop off, this Third World War. And it's going to be a nuclear war, all right? Again, we reading here. All right, assemble yourselves, verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. All right, and gather yourselves together round about. All right, thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Let the heathen be wakened. All right, let them wake up and pop off in this war. Right, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, to Yahweh's judgment, because the Lord is getting ready to bring all these nations together to judge them, man. All right, verse 10. All right, I'll start at 9 again. Proclaim this ye among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks, all right, into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Yeah, because all these nations that were once weak now have nuclear power. They're not weak anymore, man. These nations in this current age now have nuclear power. These nations are powerful now, man. All right. So, let's get into this article, right? France and Poland to rehearse nuclear strikes on Russia in high-stakes NATO drills, major provocation, all right? In a major provocation, all right, France and Poland are set to conduct joint military drills simulating nuclear strikes on Russia, all right, and Belarusian targets, according to Polish media, all right? French Rafale, all right, jets equipped with nuclear-capable ASMP missiles will rehearse long-range attacks from the Baltic Sea region, all right, reaching as far as strategic sites, all right, near St. Petersburg, all right, while Polish forces provide reconnaissance and conventional strikes with JAS-MER cruise missiles. All right, the Kremlin has angrily rejected the plans, all right, calling them proof that NATO is gearing up for open conflict. Yeah, all the men of war are drawing near, man. Like we just read in Joel the 3rd chapter. All right, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. All right, multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decisions. Woo! All right, I might do a lesson named that. All right, we got right here, multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decisions. Woo! All right. It says, let's keep reading. It says, under the scenarios reportedly discussed during French President Emmanuel Macron's meeting with the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk earlier this week, Polish F-16 jets will conduct long-range reconnaissance and target identification and will strike high-value targets in the vicinity of St. Petersburg using conventional JASSM-ER cruise missiles. All right? And it's always nuclear drills, man. It's not regular, light missiles, right? Light ICBM. It's always nuclear drills, right? Because that's the type of war. That's the type of war this Third World War is going to be. A nuclear war. Matter of fact, let's prove that with scripture. Isaiah 9, right? All right, Isaiah, the 9th chapter. All right, verse 5. Right? It says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, because war is a bloody thing, right? But let's keep reading. It says, but this, right? Meaning this war, right? World War III, right? Shall be with burning and fuel of fire. That's the type of war this Third World War is going to be, all right? A war of burning and fuel of fire, all right? But this, meaning this war, World War III, right, shall be with burning and fuel of fire. All right? You see? All right? It's going to be a war of burning and fuel of fire. All right? It's not no regular boots on the ground war, right? It's not going to be a short range ICBM missile, right? Launching. Nah, man. It's going to be straight nuclear bombs being dropped, right? Multiple nuclear warheads coming out from the front of them ICBM missiles, man. Right? It says, I just read this, I'll read it again. It says, under the scenarios reportedly discussed during French President Emmanuel Macron's meeting with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk earlier this week, Polish F-16 jets will conduct long-range reconnaissance and target identification and will strike high-value targets in the vicinity of St. Petersburg using conventional JASSM-ER cruise missiles, right? French Rafale B fighters armed with ASMP missiles carrying nuclear warheads will also fly from France to the Budapest, Kaliningrad, all right, line and simulate nuclear strikes on targets in Russia and Belarus, right? Says the planned exercises are described as part of Macron's push to extend France's nuclear umbrella over other European states and expand the country's nuclear potential. All right. Russia has consistently condemned NATO for escalating tensions on the European continent, particularly through its increasing nuclear rhetoric. All right. Responding to the reported French-Polish nuclear drills, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated that they show Europe's aspiration for further militarization and nuclearization, all right, and warned that such steps do not contribute to stability and predictability on the European continent. All right, Russia Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko also said on Thursday that NATO's UK-led joint expedition forces all right, JEF, all right, has been practicing scenarios of a naval blockade and seizure of Russia's Kaliningrad, all right, region, and is deliberately pursuing a path of increasing confrontation. Meanwhile, the Finnish parliament took up a bill to allow the import and storage of nuclear weapons on the country's territory. The move would overturn legal barriers that had banned such devices in the country since 1980. Yeah, so now things are moving, right? So now things are being allowed because the Lord has, a will, all right, to bring this third world war, right? Moscow has warned that any deployment of nuclear weapons in Finland would be a direct threat to Russia and would trigger retaliatory measures, right? All right, let's keep reading. It says, speaking exclusively on RT on Thursday, Andriy Kartapalov, all right, chairman of the State Duma Defense Committee, warned that Finnish lawmakers would be making a big mistake if they voted in favor of the bill. All right, the arrival of foreign nuclear weapons in the Nordic country would significantly undermine its own security, according to the senior Russian MP. All right, it says the relevant military installations on Finnish soil would inevitably end up on Russian strategic forces priority target list. All right, Kartapalov predicted. All right, so you see what's happening, what's going on, man. All right, many nations. Matter of fact, let's all right, let's get the chat real quick. All right. All right. What nations are currently conducting nuclear missile drills? All right, let's see that real quick. Let's see what's going on, or have recently. All right. Woo! All right, so it says here's a clear, all right, fact-based snapshot of countries that are currently conducting or have very recently conducted nuclear-related missile drills or exercises. I'll separate confirmed recently and from planned indirect nuclear drills so you can see what's actually happened versus being prepared. All right, so it says Russia, all right, conducted strategic nuclear missile force drills in Siberia. That's in April this month, 2026, involving YARS, ICBMs, right? Focus, mobility, camouflage, and survivability of nuclear missile units. All right. Russia routinely cycles these drills, but timing is tied to NATO tensions. You see? All right. So you got Russia right now in April 2026. All right, conducting strategic nuclear missile force drills in Siberia involving YARS ICBMs. All right, and it says Russia routinely cycles these drills. All right, but the timing is tied to NATO tensions. Yeah, so you got Poland and Finland, all right, coming together for nuclear drills. All right, you got Russia, all right, conducting nuclear drills in Siberia this month. All right, North Korea, multiple ballistic missile launches in April, the same month, this month, right? Multiple ballistic missile launches in April 2026, right? Several in a single month, right? It says these are effectively operational drill test force for nuclear capable delivery systems, all right? Includes testing new warheads and strike patterns, all right? And you also got China, all right? So all these nations are doing nuclear drills, bro. Why? Because this third world war is about to pop off, All right, this is all the men of war drawing near. Right? Come on, man. Conducted recent drills simulating response. All right, it says China conducting recent drills simulating response to a nuclear attack scenario, Taiwan-related contingency. All right, also running large-scale live fire exercises. All right, April, same month. All these nations in the same month, this month, are doing drills, bro. All right, it says also running large-scale live fire exercises, all right, though not explicitly nuclear in that specific report. China increasingly integrates nuclear scenarios into broader war planning. All right, so you got France and Poland, what we just reported on, right? France and Poland, NATO aligned, preparing or discussing joint nuclear deterrence exercise in Europe. All right, likely to involve nuclear capable aircraft. All right, simulating strike missions. All right, this reflects a shift toward European nuclear coordination. All right, especially due to Russia. This is what we just reported on, right, in that article. Right, broader military drills with nuclear components. All right, or context, the United States and allies, NATO allies. All right, the Indo-Pacific. All right, current large exercises. Right. Balikatan, all right, 2026 include missile defense, precision, strike scenarios, not nuclear drills per se, all right, but designed to counter nuclear capable adversaries, all right, Russia and Belarus, right? Recent past 2025, Zapad 2025 exercises include training for nuclear weapon and use scenarios, all right? Shows continued integration of tactical, all right, nuclear doctrine, all right, NATO nuclear exercises late 2025, all right, annual exercises like Steadfast Noon simulate nuclear weapon deployment and with aircraft. These are recurrent and expected again in 2026, right? So it says the big picture takeaway, all right, right now the countries most actively involved in nuclear related missile drills or simulation are Russia, North Korea, China, France, and Poland, US, and NATO, right? All the men are gearing up. All right, let the men of war draw near. All right, many countries don't publicly label drills as nuclear, even when the systems involved are nuclear capable. All right, missile tests, all right, like North Korea is often double, all right, as both weapons deployment and training drills. All right, there are a noticeable increase in nuclear signaling globally since 2024. All right, in 2026, yep, especially tied to Ukraine war tensions, Taiwan Strait risk, Korea Peninsula escalation. All right, and then it says, if you want, I can break down further into which countries are increasing nuclear readiness. All right, the fastest, all right, or what scenarios these drills are actually simulating. All right, matter of fact, yeah, let's do that. All right, yes, please let me know. It says, all right, here's a deeper breakdown of who's ramping up nuclear readiness the fastest and what kinds of scenarios they're actually training for. This is where things get more revealing than just listing drills. All right, so let's read this real quick. It's like, who is increasing nuclear readiness the fastest? All right, Russia is still the most visibly active in nuclear force readiness. Now, why is that? All right, now why is that? All right, because it's prophecy, all right? Russia is going to be the main ones to destroy America in this third world war, according to prophecy, man. All right? It says Russia is that's why Russia has the largest nuclear arsenal and also the most powerful nuclear weapons. All right? Russia is the most visibly active in nuclear force readiness. Yeah. All right? And they're going to be the main ones to destroy America. All right? Lay this land waste. All right? A desert. All right, Russia, it says regular movement and dispersal of mobile ICBMs like the RS-24 YARS. Frequent readiness inspections of strategic forces. Yeah, that's the spirit of the Lord that has them in frequent readiness, man. They ready, man. to fulfill prophecy, man. All right. It says increasing emphasis on tactical nuclear weapons. All right. What changed recently? It says they're focusing less on symbolic shows and more on survivability in a real war scenario. All right, meaning hiding launchers, relocating under threat, operating during active conflict. Right, this signals preparation for a prolonged conflict with nuclear forces. All right, where nuclear forces might actually be used or threatened. You see, so the Lord, bro, come on, man, the Lord got them prepped and ready, man. All right, they ready, man. All right, probably the fastest growing in capability and testing tempo. All right, rapid fire missile launches. All right, development of tactical nuclear weapons, testing salvo launches. Right, multiples at once. Right, shift from can we build it to can we use it effectively in war. All right. All right, preemptive nuclear strikes, battlefield nuclear use against South Korea. That's what they're actively training for, right? China expanding nuclear arsenal at the fastest pace globally, right? Building new missile silos, integrating new nuclear forces into conventional war planning, all right? So you see what's going on. It says the U.S. is modernizing rather than expanding, all right, rapidly, all right, but still very active, upgrading ICBMs, all right, modernizing bombers and submarines, all right, running regular NATO nuclear exercises, all right. So it says, let's keep reading. It says more emphasis on deterrence against two major nuclear powers simultaneously, Russia and China, all right. France, all right, you read that in European NATO shift. France is becoming more prominent in Europe's nuclear posture. Yeah, because we just read the article, right? It says increasing coordination, all right, with allies like Poland, more visible nuclear signaling using air-delivered weapons, all right? Europe preparing for less reliance on U.S. nuclear guarantees, right? All right, so you see what's happening, man. All right. And goes, what scenarios are these drills actually simulating? All right, second strike survival, Russia, U.S., China. All right, we've been hit, we can still retaliate. All right, mobile missile launchers dispersing submarines, going silent, hardening command systems. All right, so you see what's going on, man. All right, you see what's happening, you see what's popping off. All right, so Lord willing, there's a little bit more information going on. All right, that you see here, but I'll leave it at that. All right, so Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Raktazad, this lesson is or was edifying. All right, call Halalyum, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakah Quitash. The water, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakah Quitash, for letting me teach and do another lesson, for allowing me to watch once again and report on news. All right, so with that being said, unto the next one, Shalom, Shalom.